Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we love talking about technology and how you can use it to power the good. And so in this case, we're talking all about artificial intelligence, AI, ChatGPT, and so much more. We're honored to have with us our City Current partner, Sridhar Sunkara. He's the CEO of eBiz Solutions. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Jeremy?
Doing well. And so this is a hot topic. And when you talk about ChatGPT especially, so many are starting to wonder, one, how do I use it? How do I get the most out of it? And then how do I apply it to my business or my nonprofit? And so we're going to have some fun discussions with you on this subject. But let's start with a little bit of background about eBiz Solutions so we have some context. Give us a little background on the company, and then we'll dive into AI and ChatGPT.
Sure. So from eBiz standpoint, we have started in 2005 as a web development company, slowly progressed and moved into more enterprise solution company. And so as we continue to grow, as the technology continues to change and the user demand continues to change, so we have continuously evolved ourselves as a technology partner to many companies, guiding them in the technology roadmap and making sure that their growth is aligned with the technology growth. And that brings us, like, we offer services like consulting of companies to allow them to understand what technology can do, and also we also do the implementation of technologies along with consulting. So today is the hot topic, and from consulting and implementing is the AI piece, especially after the ChatGPT and the generative AI like Bard and Google have come out.
Let's talk about artificial intelligence. When you start to kind of just paint the broad picture about artificial intelligence, how do you describe artificial intelligence, especially around a business context?
Yeah, I mean, so artificial intelligence has many avenues, right? So there's a natural language processing, there's a machine learning, so there's deep learning. So in the context of today's everybody's interest, it's more they're talking about generative AI, which is the chat and Bard. So what those AI models are, they're more large language models. They learn a lot from text and images and videos. They learn a lot, and then they can actually create a new content from their learnings. It's completely original new content that they create. So that is what is great about the large language models, which is what generative AI, which is ChatGPT, Bard is all about. So that's what I think, like, a lot of people really want to hear, right? So, but other things like the deep learning and the NLP, natural language processing, even though some of them are part of generative AI, but they're on their own, like the machine learnings and all.
Give us some perspective, because artificial intelligence has been with us for a while. And so when you look at things like, correcting text and things along those lines, we're somewhat familiar with using artificial intelligence, but maybe not to this degree. And so give us some perspective on where we are in terms of the newness of AI.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So far we are all part of AI, but it's more in an autopilot. For example, when you're typing your email, you're getting some things that automatically replies, right? And also when you go to Netflix, it understands your previous, what you are watching and how you're watching, your preferences, and then it creates content for you. But it's all auto, right? But what is big shift is now we are also involved in creating our own AI, right? So it became from an autopilot to piloting our own. We are piloting together with the AI engine, which is much more fascinating than an algorithm telling us what we need to do, rather than us now telling, hey, how can we co-author together and create a better business process or better content or better image or better video. So that's the beauty about this generative AI. That's what, like, putting people back, okay, how can I now be part of it?
Let's dive in deep into ChatGPT. I think that's the one that's probably the most well known. I know that companies are starting to use it for RFPs, script writing, songwriting, like there's so many applications, but it's only for the most part as good as the prompts and the information you give it. And so give us some broad, and then we'll dive in deep on ChatGPT. So give us a little bit of an overview specifically with ChatGPT.
Sure. ChatGPT is, again, it's a part of the OpenAI. OpenAI is a company that one of the product is ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a very text-based content generation, right? It's a large language model based on text. So it has been like, now we have ChatGPT. It released with the ChatGPT 3.5. Now we are at ChatGPT 4, which is very different from what ChatGPT 3.5 is. I mean, much more intelligent. And now it's in works of ChatGPT 5, which probably is going to completely change how we work on it. So at the high level, what it does is you go into the ChatGPT and you try to say, this is what I want to do, right? And it's going to spit like information based on what it learned so far, and from till 2021 internet. It has scraped the whole internet and learned everything from internet from till 2021, right? So now since it's learned, so it will create a new content based on what it learned and got trained, and completely new content for you. Like, for example, you want to write a blog post, or you want to write a song, or you want to ask, like, you give a big script of information and say, okay, can you tell me what this is? Summarize this document. Or you can have a summary and say, expand this document, right? So you can do so many. Or you say, hey, this is what my document is. Can you tell me what's going on? So that is some of the content side. You can also have, like, here is what I want, and you can create a marketing plan or a sales strategy or ad. If you want to create an ad, you can create some ad content to it. But more than that, it also creates for developers. It's a very, very interesting thing. So developers can even develop small code snippets or put their code and see where the problem is, right? So, and also they can put in, also find new ways of doing the code. So it really, really helps every aspect of our business, what we are doing today. It can have a big impact on it.
Give us an idea, you already have kind of given some examples, but when you talk about like a nonprofit, a business, and saying, okay, I can use this for XYZ, for developing social media posts, script writing, and writing a narrative that will go on my website to explain a product. What are some other examples of ways that you're already seeing businesses and nonprofits apply ChatGPT?
Yeah, I mean, the three areas, right? It's very, very good, right? So the first is automating processes, right? Augmenting with a human to speed up, and you're accelerating your business transformation. So what does each mean, right? When you're automating, so in a day-to-day business, you have so many repetitive tasks you have to do, right? For example, you have to come and check emails and do something, right? Or you bring in the mail and do something, right? You read. So as you understand all these repetitive processes, you can train the model and let it do those repetitive tasks so that you can focus on much more intellectually challenging tasks in your day-to-day. Because most of the time we get so busy on a repetitive task on day-to-day, and then at the end of the day we feel like we have done so much. Actually, we have not really accomplished so much, right? So just to give an example on a business process automation. So we were working with a company that does tons of tax. They have to pay taxes for the real estate they own. So they have several people that are getting the tax bills every day, putting in the machine, right, so that they can pay it. But what we have done is we looked at all this, right, and we created the OCR, right, optical character recognition, that you scan it, and then we actually developed the whole AI algorithm so that it learned, and we trained it. So now when it comes, it can. So it learns everything, and it puts all the information there, and then it does everything from there. So think about somebody that's spending 8 hours doing this versus now they probably will spend a few minutes a day to put them in the scanner. That's it. So you think about, but that person was being very, very busy every day, right, with it 8 hours. Now, what can you do with this person right now? So now that person has much more challenging job so that they can be much more efficient for the job, not this repetitive task. So that's a very small thing. And you can look at customer service. The customer service, you get so many tickets all the time. And now we are also implementing where it learns from the previous ticket, from the previous closing of the tickets, and then it generates. We train the data so that now when a new system ticket comes, when they put in the problem, it automatically pulls in the solutions based on the previous way how it was closed. So those are like very quick wins for a company that they can adopt. And for marketing, right? One of the biggest challenge in marketing is writing articles, writing blog, creating content. But this is a very, very few minutes way to create a good guideline, right? Or good areas of, oh, this is what we are misthinking. So it creates as a good, what I say is a big push for us to start creating the content, right? It pushes out of that obstacle of generating content ideas. It creates the ideas. It creates ideas with us. So it is like right away it is usable, right? So today, if you think about it, language translation, email drafts, personal assistants, right? So e-learning, code generation, they're right out of the box mostly. There's so much you can use right out of the box today.
One of the interesting things is it learns. So you can put in, here are some past posts. Here's how I write, my script. Here's an opening for a TV show that I want you to use this voice. And then here are the guests, put together a script based on, their impact. And I think to your point, it can learn both and put those together so that it can follow kind of your brand voice and give you really good content in, a fraction of the time. And so then you can spend your time, glancing through, editing, making sure, but ultimately, back to your point, is it makes your time so much more valuable. And then you're leveraging technology to get the most out of it. Give us one more example when you look at where this is headed. You mentioned already the different iterations and what that means for speed and the ability to pull in more information. When you look at where this is headed, what gives you a smile on your face for being able to take this and accelerate even faster?
In many directions, right? It's very, very exciting for everybody. Just to take ours, for example, we are in the software building. So our slow or challenging area is the developers get stuck in developing or creating the right requirements, right? So there's several parts, like even creating flowcharts when we understand so somebody needs to go and understand the flowchart and create the flowchart and all. Now with ChatGPT, we're just writing what we want, right? What are we are thinking about this product, and just put it. It creates the step by step of that. We just take that snippet and then we'll put it in. So there's so many right now tools that you can use AI to build flowcharts or build wireframes. We just put it there. It creates. What used to take us a couple of days now takes us a couple of hours. The speed at which we can deliver products and services to clients have dramatically been increased. But as of now, we are not there yet. So we are slowly getting there. By end of the year, we are trying to at least get to 40 to 45% of efficiency for every employee in the company. So they're much more happy right now, because the biggest frustration of anybody is when they get stuck at something. So right now, like the moment you get stuck, you use ChatGPT or Bard or one of those and just put where you got stuck. It helps you to quickly identify your problem and then get to the next step. So you can keep on progressing on what you're supposed to deliver. So it does so many for us, like for somebody like us. And the same thing, like it could be for people that do research, right? It reduces so much of time on the research, right? So that's a big part. Even our thing, we have to research so many things. Okay, with this API connects to that, or with this kind of thing, what are the different kind of solutions? Right now, we have to go and do a lot of digging or from our previous experiences. But now we can just go in a couple of hours. We get so many ideas, so many options. Now we can go and actually test them to make sure it really works.
Carry that into the leadership that's necessary for an organization so that this doesn't end up kind of the wild, wild west, if you will, for their employees, but so that there's structure and you're able to maximize the operational efficiencies and be able to leverage this, just like we're talking about, but do it in a strategic way. So talk about the leadership that's necessary to take full advantage of artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, just like we're talking about for an organization.
Yeah. One of the biggest challenges, it is coming not even just about AI, but even digital transformation, is most of the leadership at the top level, the CEO level or the president level, they hand off this to somebody else to run. That's not going to be successful anytime. And we have seen very, very few. If the next level leader is a very, very skilled leader, you can see, but it has to be run by the top C-suite, right? So, but in order for them to run, the reason why they hand off to somebody is because they don't understand it. If you don't make them understand it, then there's no point in doing it, because they never bought into it. They just thought, oh, everybody's talking about it, okay, let's have this on the side and get it done. So we now have started, engaging the leadership first and having leadership understand the whole idea of this, how it can improve within their own thing, for their employees, for their customers, right? And educate them and understand the impact of it, and then move downwards. And so without leadership, but not only just buy-in, without leadership understanding, there's no point in doing it, because everybody goes on their own ways and everybody's doing everywhere. And then it becomes like a big chaos and nobody knows what is the right one for that context of their company. But leadership can set that context so that the employees knows which areas to focus and what they need to be implementing and researching and testing.
Where do you like to start the conversation when you start looking at the opportunities to leverage artificial intelligence, just like we're talking about some of the examples you shared? How do you start to open the eyes for the corporate leaders to say, here's where the opportunities are, let's start going in this direction? Where do you like to have those conversations start? What are you looking at first?
Yeah. So we look at the company's domains, right? The domains can fall under three different categories. One is your processes, your workflows, internal workflows. Another one is journeys, the user journey. Like if, for example, if it's an e-commerce customer, how does the customer start and go through the journey, right? So you look at processes, workflows, journeys, and then you look at departments. But the biggest impact you have is either you look at a journey or a workflow, because they're tied into multiple departments and they create a value chain, right? They have a bigger impact on the company. You want to pick the battles, right, that matter the most, but are small enough to win, right? So you start with those to show the impact that if you make a small change in one of the workflow, you either automate it, right, or remove some of the task and make more AI driven. So now you can give them, now they can see a big impact. And so now you write down all of those different type of workflows, processes, journeys, and then prioritize those, so making sure how do you impact. So some of them impact the internal side, efficiencies for employees, which is also huge, right? It makes a huge difference for the companies. And then some of them that actually impact the customer journeys. So based on that, you just take which ones would be the first one, prioritize and keep moving. But the biggest challenge, like anything else, you always have to keep pushing it, because there might be small failures in the beginning, right? You keep pushing it because you know that it's going to have a big impact. Because there's always, the first thing about implementation is people are scared. People are scared because, now I'm busy, now I'm not going to be busy. What am I going to do with my time? So now there's an adoption, and we need to also train people. What happens? How do we actually move their job into a different reskilling? Because they have a lot of domain knowledge. You just don't want to let them go, right? So they have a lot of skills. How can we reskill them? So you have to think through all of those, not just the technology. Coming and putting in technology is the easy part, but then thinking about how do we manage people during this whole process.
Wrap up with maybe a couple of just your personal tips when it comes to specifically ChatGPT. And as I mentioned before, learning how to prompt it so you get the best end result is a big piece of it. You've also seen things where, when you're posting something, make sure you take off the fact that this was created by ChatGPT. So there's good, and there's also lessons to learn from others. But give us maybe a couple of just personal tips when it comes to getting the most out of ChatGPT and, dipping your toes in the water, so to speak.
So the best results you get from ChatGPT is use it as a conversational partner, not as like a search and give results kind of partner. So like, for example, for anything I do, I'll say, hey, ChatGPT, act as a business analyst, right? And now I'm going to ask you questions, help me understand how to proceed, and say, okay, you ask me questions back if you don't understand. So now it becomes actually you are having a conversation with the expert and you are learning, and it's also asking you questions. Now, like, you need to have that knowledge too. It's not like just, hey, go and give me this, and I don't have any understanding of it. Both of us need to have the understanding and understand each other, but it's only helping you with a higher skill, higher intelligence, higher level of access to knowledge than me, right? So that's how you really, really get great content or great information for whether it's your coding or marketing or any content you want to generate. You want to use it as a conversational piece, not as a question and answer.
Yeah, great advice. This is one of those we could go on for hours, but let's go
Yeah.
ahead and wrap up and give everyone contact information for where we can carry this conversation forward. So where do we go to follow you and eBiz Solutions online on social media?
Sure. So our website is thinkebiz.net. So that's our website. That's where we have our contact information. So just contacting me is my last name, Sunkara, Sunkara at thinkebiz.net. I'm on LinkedIn. My tag is SS Sunkara, and Twitter is the same thing, SS Sunkara. So, and we have like a very specified AI consulting piece right now. So we just go and consult only to the leadership, helping them understand just what this generative AI can do for them, and then slowly getting information more on their company to see where we can make a big impact with small, quick, we call it quick wins. What can quick wins make a big impact in their company?
Sridhar, thank you for your City Current partnership, your thought leadership, for being a change maker. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Jeremy.